It's about all of our rights and going into the digital age. The courts are grappling with trying to fit 20th century law into the 21st century. What they decide in the courts right now is going to impact all of us going forward.
I'm here at Porkfest with Lynn Albrecht, who has been at the forefront of fighting for not only the case, the Silk Road case involving her son Ross Ulbricht, but also stopping the awful precedents that this case is setting. So thanks so much for chatting with me, Lynn.
Always a pleasure.
Tell me a little bit about some of the dangerous things that this case has said in terms of precedents. Digital evidence comes into play, how they got the evidence in the first place. Talk to me a little bit about this.
Big question. There's a long, long list. As regarding digital evidence, almost 100% of the evidence brought against Ross in the trial was digital. I've been told by expert after expert that could be so easily tampered with, deleted, added to. And we've actually found tampered evidence, digital evidence, after the fact of the trial. It's setting a very dangerous precedent. I mean, even a mortgage company won't take a screenshot of a bank statement because they know. They want to see the original. They know how easily faked it is, and yet Judge Katharine Forrest has a lower standard than a mortgage company, and it's a man's life at stake. As regards the investigation, there's a lot of things, but one of the things that's most egregious in my mind is that there were two corrupt agents who had the run of the site, had the ability to change passwords, PIN numbers, commandeer accounts, including the account that ran the whole thing, and we don't know who was actually behind it, but they could be behind it, and none of this was permitted to be known to the jury. And then there's lots of questions about the actual investigation. For example, the government has searched and seized Ross's internet activity without a warrant or probable cause, and the question before the Supreme Court is this constitutional? We have a Fourth Amendment, and all I had to do is get a warrant, but then it's not secret. You know, they can do this now without a warrant, without any oversight at all to any of us. There's a lot of revealing information through our internet activity that political affiliations, religious affiliations, medical records, apps, sexual orientation, potentially things they can use to blackmail officials and judges and congresspeople or persecute people with. I mean, and this is right now open season based on antiquated law that the Supreme Court is changing. And it should apply, in my mind, not only to cell phone records, which is the Supreme Court's looking at that specifically, but to internet browsing activity to protect all of us. Yeah. Another question before the Supreme Court that was brought before the Supreme Court is a Sixth Amendment violation where the judge in Ross's case used uncharged allegations, including that of murder for hire, that was never proven, never brought into trial as a charge, never judged on by a jury. And the Sixth Amendment was written partly to protect the accused from a judge deciding something was true without a jury of your peers deciding that. And that's exactly what Judge Forrest did.
It was shocking at the sentencing being there and hearing her bring up all of this murder for hire, and you're hearing that. It's like, this was never charged. And then using that and saying, we've actually given him an extremely long and harsh sentence in a maximum security facility because of these murder for hire charges. And it's just crazy that something that was not even brought to court was used in sentencing.
Absolutely, and it puts us all in peril because a jury trial is one of the bulwarks of our justice system. We're supposed to be we have a right, a constitutional right to have that, and Ross didn't, and he denies it, and it was never proven, and so that's another issue. There's so many issues in this case that are egregious, and one of them, of course, is this excessive sentence, where a person who, no violent charges whatsoever, no victims named at trial, no one coming forward at trial to say Ross had harmed them in any way, and that she gives him double life plus 40 years, someone who's never harmed anyone, who is totally peaceful. And, that's a very scary thing, too. And there's many people in our system that are serving life who are completely peaceful and haven't hurt anyone. And many of them are drug offenders. Yeah. And this has got to change. It's very expensive for the taxpayer, but it's also very expensive in human lives and in our the repercussions in our society. It's absolutely horrendous.
Well, the repercussions of having just open season on our digital, on our search history, I mean, that's scary. That's a really scary precedent that this case might be setting, and it surprises me that more people aren't speaking out to get this overturned.
I think a lot of people just aren't aware. And a lot of the media only skims the surface about the case, and they love the most sensational aspects of it, and they distort it constantly. So but it's really not about just Ross and a website. It's about all of our rights in going into the digital age, because we're kind of at a crossroads, and the courts are grappling with trying to fit 20th century law into the 21st century, and it doesn't fit because the technology has changed so much that so much more is revealed. And it's really important right now, because what they decide in the courts right now is going to impact all of us going forward.
I know a lot of people who are starting decentralized websites and doing so thinking, well, this is something that could give people more freedom, this will lead to a better future. But the scary thing is what a precedent that this case might set is that they're liable. If they built the website, it doesn't matter whether they control it or not. They're still held accountable for what's on it. So that's a very scary future, that a tool you create, not necessarily for those purposes, could even be changed and used for something else, and you could be held accountable for that.
Held responsible. That's correct.
You have an update about a recent ruling regarding the case?
Yeah, Ross and his legal team at Williams and Connolly submitted a petition to the Supreme Court, and it looks like they're holding it pending another case, which they just ruled on yesterday. And they ruled in favor of the defendant. And it was another Fourth Amendment case, a privacy case, which basically states that the government, by seizing someone's cell phone records and locations without a warrant, is violating the Constitution. Up until now, they've been able to track any of us with our cell phones without a warrant. Ross's case is slightly different, but it's related in that they can track any of our internet activity without a warrant, which arguably is even more revealing and more invasive. And so Carpenter has been ruled on favorably by the Supreme Court, so they've upheld privacy. And now we're waiting to hear what they will do with Ross's case. His lawyers have submitted a brief that is saying, well, considering what they've just ruled in Carpenter, they should also remand Ross's case to the Second Circuit for them to reconsider under this new law.
This is a really important case that I don't think we can stress that enough, because it sets so many precedents moving into the digital age that just haven't been talked about before. And this case is one of the first that's really talking about this. So what things can people do to learn more about the precedents and help fight some of the dangerous precedents that are being set?
Well, we have freeross.org, and we have a whole precedents page. We're going to have an in-depth case history page, heavily footnoted, that'll show pretty astounding things about the whole case that most people don't know. There's all kinds of information on that website, and ways to help as well. So I really, people should go to freeross.org, and that's our hub, and that has the truth about this case.
I've got a pin here, Free Ross pin. The team at humanaction.net have put together these pins. 100% of everything that is raised selling these goes to the Free Ross campaign. Best of luck with it. I hope that you get all the support that you can. This is such an important case, not just for Ross, but as we said, for all the precedents that it's setting. So thanks for all the work you're doing, and thanks for chatting with me.
Thank you, Naomi. It's always a pleasure.
We still have hope. We cannot quit.
Subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, subscribe to Naomi's YouTube channel.